أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Welcome to our class today. I hope and pray that everyone is doing well today. Jazakumullah for joining on time. We will begin with our opening prayer as always. So let's have a student to the mic for that. 3125. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam. Okay, so we'll start with Dawood. If you could repeat after me, please. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم.
Good. The translation.
Actually confused with Allah from Shaitan the rejected.
Good. And Tasmiyah. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim.
Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. In the name of Allah, the gracious, the merciful.
Good. Okay, let's recite from here. Rabbi allimni ma huwa khayrun indak.
Rabbi alimni ma huwa khayrun indak.
Good. Over here, this is just before you start the translation. Over here, I'd just like you to join the ayn to the lam with a bit more force. Okay, so alimni.
Alimni.
Good, better. Okay, so the lam is a mushaddad letter, so we need to join it to the previous letter with force. Ali, like that, and then carry on. Okay, well done. And the translation, please.
Oh my Lord, teach me what is best for me in your knowledge.
Good. And where's this prayer from?
Tazkira.
Excellent. Good. Well done. Jazakumullah. Allah Hafiz for now. Okay, so just a quick reminder about class etiquettes and rules. As always, please make sure that you have done wudu before you entered the classroom today. And you're wearing clean clothes, heads are covered appropriately, sitting in a nice and quiet place with your parents, and using your correct IDs to have signed in today. If you haven't used your correct ID, please rename yourself. Okay, so today's schedule, we are going to be starting off by looking at our rule in focus. And today we are going to start the rule of Maddah Asli. This is a new rule that we're covering today. And there are 3 different types of Maddah Asli. And today we'll be looking at the first type, which is Alif Maddah. And if you'd like to have a look at this lesson in the Talimul-Qur'an book, you can refer to page 68 and 69 in that book in order to get more practice on this rule that we're learning about today. And then at 1:15, we'll go into our breakout rooms in which you'll be covering Surah An-Nisa, verses 102 to 103. And then I'd like you to please return again at the end so I can assign you the homework. Okay, so let's have a look at the rule in focus for today. Today's rule is Maddah Asli, also known as normal elongation. Okay, so we know, and we've learned before, that there are short strokes, which are fatha, kasra, and dhamma. These are all 3 types of short strokes. And for these short strokes, we allow a time of 1 second or 1 count. So wherever we see a letter with a fatha, kasra, or dhamma on it, we pronounce that letter for 1 count. That is a timing on that letter. Sometimes the timing on a short stroke gets stretched or prolonged to 2 counts. This is known as normal elongation, and this happens when the short stroke of fatha, kasra, or dhamma is followed by a certain letter. Okay? There are 3 letters known as haruful mad in Arabic, or in English it's known as letters of prolongation, or in Urdu you may have learnt as Maddah Asli, and what we referred to at the beginning. So all those 3 terms, they mean the same thing. Haruful mad letters of prolongation, or Maddah Asli. Okay, the same thing. And there are 3 letters known as letters of prolongation. And those 3 letters are, and before we go into that, I'd just like to point out that the word mud that is mentioned over here, in Arabic, it means to lengthen or to prolong. Okay, so the name itself explains what the rule is. So mud means to lengthen or to prolong. So haruful mud, haruf means letters, and mud means to prolong, letters of prolongation. Okay. Today, we'll look at one of those letters of prolongation, which is Alif mud. So there are 3 letters in total, but today we'll just be looking at the first type, which is Alif mud. Over here, let's start with a short stroke of Fatha. Okay, we can see in that box on the right over here that this is a stroke of Fatha. I'm sure everybody is very much familiar with this now. This is a Fatha, slanted stroke placed on top of a letter. A short stroke of Fatha is always 1 count. So if you see a letter with a Fatha on top of it, it will be pronounced for 1 count. In the next box over here, we see an Alif. It's the first letter of the alphabet, Arabic alphabet, and we can see over here that Alif is carrying no stroke. It doesn't have any stroke on it. Now, when the short stroke of Fatha, as you can see over here, is followed by an Alif carrying no stroke, then that is called an Alif mud. A blank Alif with no stroke and the letter before carries a Fatha, then that is an Alif mud. Note the difference. On the right over here, we see an Alif, a blank Alif, and on the left, we see an Alif mud. Okay, and it's an Alif mud because it's still a blank Alif, but now the letter before carries a Fatha. So it's an Alif mud. Alif mud causes the sound due to the Fatha to prolong to 2 counts. Okay, so now that there is a blank Alif, but because the letter before carries a Fatha, it is now an Alif mud. Okay, and that Alif mud will now cause our sound to prolong for 2 counts. Let's have a look at a few examples. Over here, we have lam with a Fatha, la. Okay, so 1 count timing over here because it's a simple Fatha, la. Now in the next box, again, we have a lam with a Fatha. Now this time, it has a blank Alif straight after it over here. Yeah, this is a blank Alif. Now we've just learnt that if we see a blank Alif and the letter before carries a Fatha, then that is an Alif mud. And our sound will stretch to 2 counts. So instead of saying la, we are now going to say la for 2 counts. La. Okay, let's have a look at another example. Over here, we have the letter ta. It has a Fatha on top. Okay, and so a simple letter with a simple Fatha on top of it will be pronounced for 1 count. Ta. Ta. In the next box over here, we see the same letter, ta, with a Fatha, but this time it has a blank Alif straight after it. And we've just learnt that if we see a blank Alif and the letter before carries a Fatha, then that is an Alif mud. Okay, and our sound will be stretched to 2 counts. So we are going to pronounce this as da, da. Okay, so you can hear the difference. This is da and this is da. So the timing is what changes. And it's really important to recognize why it is that our sound is changing and our timing is changing. And the timing over here is changing because we have an alif mud over here. Okay, so if your teacher asks you, what is this called? We're going to say, this is an alif mud, because it's a blank alif and the letter before carries a fatha. So that's why when you're reading the Holy Quran, reciting from the Holy Quran, then if you see a blank alif, it's always important to see the letter before it. And if it carries a fatha, then that is an alif mud, and we must stretch the sound for 2 counts. Okay, so that is the rule of normal elongation for alif mud. And inshallah, in classes following from this, you will be learning about the other 2 types of haruful mud or normal elongation. Okay, and the others you'll be learning inshallah soon as well. Okay, but for today, we'd like you to please concentrate on alif mud, and there'll be different examples from our practice text today, which is Surah An-Nisa, verses 102 to 103. And we would like you to please have a look, and your teacher, as she goes through the text, will point out all the instances where there's an alif mud. Okay, so for example, over here, this is an alif mud because it's a blank alif and the letter before carries a fatha. So this is an alif mud. So this is going to be pronounced as the, wa idha. Okay, and just like that, there'll be other examples as well in the text today. So please look out for them and make sure that you're stretching your sound to 2 counts wherever you see an alif mud. Okay,